This is a Python IDE that I'm working on, and in this episode of the Cobra Devlog series, I will be finishing the tracker alongside making progress on another feature in 5 days. If you didn't see the first episode, I recommend you watch it to get an idea as to what's going on. How much progress will I make? What errors will I come across? And how will I solve them? Before we started, I had to time block coding sessions because I had school and homework to deal with. I wanted to have at least 2 coding sessions during school days, evening and night, but I had a day off Friday, so I would extend my work periods for Thursday and Friday. Now, I actually did a bit of coding earlier on October 24th, I think, where I added the difficulty and priority value to the task name 1 to 3 for difficulty, as well as a combo box meant to choose the filter. With that out of the way, time to get into the actual week. To start off, I needed to complete the filtering feature from last time. My idea was to sort the vector with the tasks, then redraw all the checkboxes to the new array. I searched up and saw Copilot's response, which was to use a sort function from the algorithm library. I could customize the sorting with a boolean function. I kept on getting the same 3867 and 2672 errors. I spent the whole evening session trying to troubleshoot the errors, but nothing worked. Until, during my night session, I decided to look at the C++ documentation, and they used a struct instead, which ended up working. So Copilot made a mistake. One problem left. In this demonstration, the tasks do get correctly sorted by priority, which is the value in brackets, but when I try to filter by difficulty, which is the one in parentheses, it just fails. But difficulties go down like 8682 when it should be 8862. For this day, I wanted to focus on troubleshooting the aforementioned error from last day. I quickly found out that any option will sort by priority, meaning that there was an issue with the if statement. I changed it to check for a standard string instead of a WX string, but then I realized I made a really stupid blunder. I forgot the else keyword. I'm pretty sure some of you already noticed that. Now that I had completed the filtering and sorting feature, I was basically done with the tracker, but I had a small issue to tackle. In the end of the last video, I pointed out 2 things I wanted to do.
Now, there were other issues like the absence of difficulty and priority labels and tasks overflowing out of the sidebar.
I already did the other labels, but I had yet to tackle the overflowing problem. To fix this problem, I need to create a scroll panel to hold the tasks. I found a tutorial that used WX scrolled on a panel to achieve this, but like many things I tried, it didn't work. I tried a different method, which is with the set scroll bar function, and while it did add a scroll bar, it didn't even scroll. I wanted to move on to other features, so I just kept it in my backlog to continue with other features tomorrow, specifically the text-to-visual conversion feature, because I had already made a drafted feature in the last video. In order to create the TTV conversion feature, I first had to add a dragging functionality. I got ChatGPT to create a little prototype, which I must say is the furthest thing from good. But Blue Square doesn't match with the mouse, it flicked a lot, and there were strange lines for the square's movements. I had limited time and didn't want to deal with the pain of coding dragging from scratch, so I resorted to Claude. From the last video, you saw how much I had to use this due to errors. I thought I was smart enough to tackle my errors naturally, but it seems like I'm still dumb. After testing Claude's code, I could confidently say that Claude saves my stupid brain once again by nailing it with the prototype. Compared to ChatGPT's, Sonnet 4.5's dragging is actually aligned with the cursor. It even had layering too. The only problem was the lines and the same flickering from ChatGPT, but I wouldn't notice that until my night session. But that's pretty minor. Moving on, the next step was to take this dragging prototype and added to the main IDE frame. I made a new menu item to replace the code editor with a visual representation. It ended up being easy because I could just reuse the code for showing the task tracker. But when I implemented it, something went wrong. The application would just close with no crash message. Then I remembered I had to actually create the panel, so it ended up looking like this, but the visual code didn't cover the full screen until viewing the tracker. To end my night session, I added a draggable panel from Claude's prototype to the editor, and it of course functioned as intended. All I did for the evening session was add text and my signature anonymous pro font to the block. You'd expect to have some stuff to talk about, but I was the only one. Until the next session, I added a plus button to create new buttons in the corner, but this revealed another problem. When a block is dragged onto the button, it seems like copies of it are left on the block, and the only way to remove them is to drag the affected area outside the panel. We also can't forget about losing the block out of bounds and the block being in front of the button. I really had no clue how to fix these, so like always, I got Claw to do it for me. Fix 2 was simple, basically creating the block before the panel and raising the button, and Fix 1 and 3 involve adding boundary checks and refreshing the parent, respectively. Basically, all my problems are fixed, but now the button will only be raised if my cursor hovers over it. Nevertheless, it's an improvement. Now that I've mostly fixed these issues, it's time to actually create new blocks. When the button is pressed, a dialog will prompt the user to choose the type of block they want. I thought I could just copy the code from the choose template dialog because it was similar, but I got two LNK2001 errors, which both said that there were, quote, unresolved external symbols. Personally, I hate linger errors because I'm barely told where or what went wrong. It's the final day of development, and now I had to figure out how to deal with the linker errors. Honestly, it just didn't make sense because it only appeared by reusing code that was perfectly fine before, so it can't be because of a missing definition. But after actually reading the exception, because I was stupid, I found out that I forgot to add definitions to the OK and close functions. Took me long enough. So now I could finish the dialogue and implement the simple block creation feature. I also add an empty option for blocks with no text, alongside other options. Now I will present my little TTV plan from last video. This page for my notebook is split into 3 sections. The first one on the top left corner shows an if block splitting off into 2 branches, where it's supposed to be on the block's side, kind of like a flowchart. It also has a little info button teaching the user how the block works. The second part to the right shows how the main program body will visualize, with a start block, again, like a flowchart, regular blocks, and a defined function block meant to be connected to the regular blocks by straight lines. Finally, the last section on the bottom depicts how classes or multiple indents will work. You can barely see a blue line connecting a print block outside the class, and that's my basic draft of how the visual code will look like, but we've ran out of time. And that is where I'm going to leave it at. I'm again editing this video for the weekend. So, thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more devlogs and programming videos like this. And also check out my entertainment channel for fun films. The video there will definitely take a long time, but a sneak peek isn't too far away from upload. And I'll see you in the next video.